when you start to go through this process, you realize that there is nothing casual about sexual encounters, nothing casual whatsoever. The exchange becomes almost like you are downloading a person's DNA, you're downloading their traumas, you're downloading their pain. And as your body starts to become sensitive and your energy starts to become sensitive, the felt sense of what that feels like to merge with that person, it becomes almost, in some cases, not a pleasant experience. Welcome to this week's episode of the Modern Shakti Files with myself, Leanne, and my co-host, Maia. So we are Kundalini activation practitioners. So over the past few years, we've been going through a deep integration process of Kundalini energy. We have worked with hundreds of people in terms of offering Kundalini activation services, and we set up this podcast so that we can support people like you who are either wanting to learn how to work with the energy more, or perhaps you're also going through a Kundalini awakening. So in today's episode, we are going to talk about what it is like dating and having relationships with an active Kundalini, because Kundalini energy is super potent, super powerful, and in relation to others and relationships, that energy can be felt deeply, that transmission between different relationships. So yeah, we wanted to open it up to talk about what it's like to have relationships with an active Kundalini. So Maia, we'll go first.
Right. Okay.
Tell me a little bit. Tell me a little bit about your personal experience of engaging in friendships with an active Kundalini, and then also like male relationships, so opposite sex relationships. What has that experience been like for you personally? What do you notice about yourself through the dating process in terms of in your body, and have you got any funky, bizarre stories that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Okay, so let's just take it step by step, one by one. I think the first thing that kind of stood out to me as you were explaining the subject for today is that I think it's very important, number one, to remember that in romantic relationships, it can be incredibly dependent on the person as well and how open they are in order for that synchronicity to actually happen. Because I can tell you that since I had I had this awakening, or I began this journey, I had relationships that were extremely, extremely steamy. Like you could feel the energy just kind of boiling over as you connect. And I also had a relationship where it perhaps wasn't the case. And it has to be someone who is open and also present in their bodies, because otherwise it's not something that will constantly just course through you, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I feel all of that, and you have a partner who is like, nah.
Yeah, or the energy intensity itself starts to feel a little bit overwhelming. Yeah. And what kind of came through when you said that is that sex. And I want to talk about sex because most people think of sex as just this kind of transactional. We're in a culture where people normalize one night stands and these different things. And I think that what is really important for our listeners to know and recognize is that when you start to go through this process, you realize that there is nothing casual about sexual encounters, nothing casual whatsoever. The exchange becomes almost like you are downloading a person's DNA, you're downloading their traumas, you're downloading their pain. And as your body starts to become sensitive and your energy starts to become sensitive, the felt sense of what that feels like to merge with that person, it becomes almost in some cases not a pleasant experience, and I'll talk about my own. So I had a partner that I was in a relationship with for a long period of time, and the last time in which we were intimate, I actually felt his energy moving through my stomach, and it almost felt like my stomach was being cut open
Remember
by
each other.
his air. And it was a horrible, horrible experience. And that was the moment in time where I was like realizing the impact of sexual encounters on my energy. And that was the moment where I was like, I cannot participate in this. Like, I cannot participate in just a common encounter. Um, so for anybody that is listening to this podcast and is going through a Kundalini awakening, I would 100% be aware of, if you are having like casual encounters with people, what that can actually do to your energy, how it can fragment your energy, how you might end up taking on parts of that person that you might not necessarily like, and the clearing process that you need to go through after that. Yeah. Would you like to
Yeah,
add
I mean,
to?
this is something we have been like debating for some time because I, on the other hand, was like, but Leanne, are you sure? Like, can we just have a little bit of fun? Like, this is meant to be a little devil, not a bull. I'm like, come on. But yeah, I mean, that's another thing too, that I think it's important to feel into what is true for you, because we can always say that for my body, and that's lets me down, or that's not right for me, or like you're having so much energy. But I think it's also important not to like project just one perception on that,
Yeah.
because people do experience it very differently and unique based on where they are in their journey and what is it we're meant to experience. Oh gosh, my voice is still being funny. I'm getting the words through slowly. But also at the same time, I think for me personally, what was super interesting is that when the energy kind of initially awoken, I had this period, like a few months when I was dating, and my dating app just blew up at the time. And I'm like, wait, did I ever, what's happening? Like, where does this 10,000 likes coming from? What am I supposed to do with this? Like, it was crazy. It's like an antenna just shoot into the sky of like, boom. Like, for all the men in like, I don't know how long mile radius, and they received a signal that something has awoken in the field. And that was really fun, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And actually that was the time when I met an ex of my ex, whom I ended up being in a longer term relationship with. But it was, I remember, like, before I met him, and kind of like as I was dating, coming up to meeting him, like the shorter relationship or encounters that I had, it was all super magnetic. I just started to have the craziest and the best sex in my life. I was just like,
Yeah.
where is this even coming from all of the sudden? Oh
Yeah.
my God, this is so weird. What
Yeah.
is this? And I didn't really
Yeah.
make the connection that, this is because life force energy has activated, and now everything, you can feel everything like so much more. But I also want to say that the reason why I did say that it depends on the partner, because it's not something that necessarily remained in that way for me, like throughout, for example, that relationship, the longer term relationship. But that's also because my partner at the time wasn't super open in that sense, or the connection, like that sensitivity or that body-based connection, it wasn't present. So just because you have that active life force energy, that's not going to override if you bond over, like, say, trauma, and not out of wholeness. So that's a whole other thing. Like, the relationship was meant to teach me other things, like how we entered a very healthy looking relationship, but still with a lot of dysfunctional aspects, like subconsciously, that I can only recognize now when I look back at it. So if the bond or like the energetic match, the body match is not there, that's not going to override like the sensitivity in the body. But as part of the process, you know, we have to go through, I guess, the experiences of rediscovering certain parts of us. And I
Yeah.
think another thing, actually, why I think I met this partner of mine was for me to be able to see the parts of me that I have abandoned. So another thing that that an active Kundalini will do is that it will bring people into your life who are going to reflect those elements and parts of you that hasn't been healed or brought to the surface. Because since that relationship, I can tell you that I have discovered so much of like self-abandonment and that really deep lying low self-worth that I was projecting in the relationship subconsciously, and I was able to then work it through with so much intention and so much compassion and care, which
Yeah.
has brought a whole other layer of transformation. But that's part of the journey. It's going to keep bringing different pieces to you so you can evolve and embody the goddess that you truly are. And yeah, it's a really fun journey.
Yeah.
Eventually, too. Eventually.
Yeah. And I want to share, I know you said it's up to people to, like, we meet these people and we have these encounters for lessons and reasons and all of these different things. And my last relationship that I've shared was super powerful and beautiful. And once again, this was a real kind of tantric experience where just being in each other's presence, we were just like full body, like orgasming, just being in each other's presence. And it was almost like our energy exchange in these different moments was so potent and powerful that there were certain things that we needed to take from each other and get from each other. And it was life changing for me. Like, it was like almost like I'd met this like divine masculine male who would call me the goddess, and he'd ask for permission to touch me, and like he'd thank me for like letting him touch me. And the reason why I'm sharing this is that, like, I think that the more that you embody your self-worth and the more that you embody the energy of the goddess, your relationship interactions start to change. And a little bit of like what Maia said about learning lessons. So there was still part of this guy that was in, I believe, like not available because he was in a different country. I met him, it was almost like a holiday kind of romance, and we took a lot from each other. But there was still evidence that I'm not fully available for myself, to show
Yeah.
up for myself, and that was reflected in this relationship with this guy that I had. He was at a point in his life where he was trying different things but not fully landed in his reality, and I would say that was mirroring back to me where I was at my own, and I was like, thanks God, thanks for showing me that, thanks
The most
for making it
powerful
very clear.
mirrors. Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
And
but
also
that's the
like,
power of it, that you recognize it now as a mirror of
yeah,
like, what is the
yeah,
part of me that I haven't fully seen? I'm like, ah, okay. So it's a very different dynamic than what relationship used to be before, isn't it?
yeah. And energetically, so like when we first met each other, he'd be in one side of the gym, I'd be on the opposite side of the gym, and we'd both know that we were in there. And the moment where we'd speak, I'm spitting, the moment when we'd speak to each other, like it would almost like, it was probably like a nervous system activation as well, like a familiarity of like a feeling of maybe like a soulmate, or maybe just him activating certain wounds from my attachment style. We could barely breathe, we had to like go, before we spoke we had to take like deep breaths. That's how big the energetic sensations and things like that were. And I often, like, if I see people now, it's like I'll get like a current, you know, like when I see certain men, I'll get a current that like jolts through my body, and I'm like, what does that current mean? Like, it's not like a sense of, it is a sexual energy sense, of course, it's sexual energy, but it's much bigger, you know, than what I used to think any kind of attraction was. It's like a real fucking visceral current feeling, and almost it can be big, very big, and hard to decipher. Like, what are you trying to communicate to me? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just being childish again towards the stuff that you were saying. It can be big, and then never mind. Don't mind me. I'm just laughing to myself because I'm like the AI that's going to cut this into short highlights is certainly going to take those words.
So I have a question. What would your advice be to somebody who has an active Kundalini and they are wanting to, you know, meet their divine counterpart, or they're wanting to date? What would your advice be to people doing that?
I don't know if it's necessarily just based on an active Kundalini, but in general, like with dating, I think it's very important to start shifting our mindset towards looking to someone to complete us, looking for a relationship as a destination to reach. Because the sooner we understand that we are kind of like ships sailing through an ocean, and sometimes there's another ship that will sail with you for some time. And maybe it's for your whole journey, but maybe it's not there. You know, it's not meant to be this classic one person we're gonna meet and be together for the rest of our lives, because that's what a successful relationship is, or that's what a successful life is. I don't know if that comes from an active Kundalini or just a very non-dualistic spiritual mindset that relationships are here to reflect different parts of us, and the sooner we are able to come back into wholeness within ourselves, the sooner we're going to be able to attract relationships that reflect that wholeness back to us. If we date because we feel lonely, or we are looking for some parts of us to be completed, then it's very likely that you're going to end up in a relationship that's just going to teach you another lesson in one shape or form. So if you really want a relationship, start going into it not with the mindset of what can I get from this, but how can I show up fully and be of service and reveal the light that is within me. And that applies to any relationship, not just romantics. Yeah.
I
What do
love
you
that.
say?
I think that was, I'm getting the throat thing. I think that there is deep conditioning within the psyche of women that, you know, how life should look in terms of, you find a man, you do this, you do that, you do the other, and also deep conditioning with respects to, you know, a man, he needs to provide, he needs to do this, he needs to do that. And I think that it can often result in women moving through life in a very disempowered state, because as you said, they're looking for something outside of themselves to be that they aren't willing to be for themselves first. And I would say that I've definitely been personally in that state of mind where I'm seeking for something outside of myself to fill a gap. And, you know, I feel it in my body as well. Like, there's a deep sense of pain and grief that women need to go through in order to accept the full reality of responsibility for relationship and self. And I would just say that I'd mimic similar to you, Maia, in terms of if you are going to date with an active Kundalini, check in with, like, where is this coming from? Where is this desire to date coming from? Like, I noticed more recently within myself that I was actually just loving, like, male attention. Like, at one stage over the past couple of weeks, I've been indulging in male attention, and I'll own it and I'll admit it. But they're not the kind of men that I I can see myself, you know, being in a divine mission with, having a fantastic, powerful mirror, all of these different things. So the other
Yeah,
day
I know that kind of, attention. It's like
yeah,
maybe, but no, no, not
yeah,
worth it.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like fast food. Like it might be fun, but you're gonna regret it tomorrow.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I wrote their name down on a piece of paper and then I was like, get out my
Nice.
field. Get out
Yeah.
of my field. Like, I'm not interested in partaking. And I think that as women, often we have many initiations of that, you know, kind of like when a carrot is dangled in front of you, like, are you sure? Are you sure you don't want to bite the carrot? And then I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to invite any men that behave that way into my field anymore. And if that means that I don't have attention, I'm okay with that. I can give myself all the attention that I need. So it's almost like, what place is the desire coming from? And then also, when it comes to sex and when it comes to exchanging of energy, is this person somebody whose values you align with? Is this person, do they behave in ways that you would, you know, want the father of your kids to look like? Are these a man that you would like to learn from? Like, does he inspire you? Because when he's in your field, you're taking on like his energies and stuff. So it's almost like, are you vetting these people? And I know it's shit because sometimes like there's part, and I work with women as well, and I'm being there. There's part of you that just wants a bit of attention, a bit of validation, and a bit of love, and you do. We
Self
all, we all,
confidence.
yeah, and we all have that. We all have them moments. And sometimes I've succumbed to them moments and other times I don't. And especially like, you know, when you've got so much fucking sexual energy that's moving through your system and I'm like, what do I do with all of this? And it's like, can you hold that in your body and can you make love with yourself? So like I've had like 3-4 hour sessions with God where I've got all of this orgasmic energy just moving through me, and it's almost like I'm just having sex with God, the way that the energy moves through me. I'm just deeply present with the experience. And, you know, I've had some of the best experiences dancing in the rain, the most orgasmic experiences in my entire life, like getting fucked by the rain. So it's almost like,
I've been
yeah,
sharing this in my Shakti dance flow group this
have
week
you?
with the women actually, yeah, because we were embodying water, and at the end, they're like, yeah, I felt water. I'm like, listen, my co-host Leanne and friend, she does this thing all the time, like dancing in the rain. I'm like, they're like, okay. So I actually gave them that like
Permission.
task, a mission for this week. I'm
Yeah.
like, next time you're in the rain, just feel the energy of it, and just when the rain drops on you, instead of being like rain, because that's our standard of like, feel the massage, feel the caressing, the softness. Like
Yeah.
I started having it so good. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I went to Home Bargains yesterday and it was torrential rain. Everyone was stood there like I daren't go out, so I was just like, whoa, walked out like just in deep bliss. But I think that, you know, when we feel them currents, when we feel them energies, we automatically associate that with a man. We automatically associate sexual desire with a man. And instead of projecting that desire onto a man, can you project it into the creation? Like, whoa, I'm feeling all of this energy. Like, let me sit with my laptop and create like a course, or let me sit with my laptop and do something creative with this power and energy, because it's life force. It's
yeah.
not necessarily, it's just the association that we make like with a man being there. Once again, that's like deeply, deeply ingrained. So, yeah, for anyone listening, I would just say that, like, you will feel things and urges potentially bigger than you ever have. And your body will be like, wanting to, like, do all of these things. And I think that the most potent and powerful thing that you can do is to try and change it. So the other day I changed a real sexual eros current and I changed it to like a blissful, like loving, like, oh, it was so beautiful. So I had gone from being like vigorously, like sexually, like horny to like, oh, you know, like deep love, like oh, like, so that would be like, go on, darling.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I was just gonna like summarize that this is kind of like what you said, is that rather than looking for that pleasure outside of you, I guess that's what an active Kundalini really comes into play here, is that you're going to start feeling that pleasure within you. And it's going to be
Yeah,
a journey of remembering that you don't have to outsource it and receive it from someone else, and you can actually rebuild this relationship from within,
with, yeah,
and with yourself, where you're like, wow, actually, I mean, again, there are different stages of the journey, but eventually living with an active Kundalini, somehow most of us, and many women who I have seen on this journey, have eventually reached the stage where they were like, you know what, I want to see what it feels like to hold this within me for a little bit, and just really give myself that softness and that care and that compassion that I would give to a partner, and really redirect it into me,
yeah.
and allow myself to feel all the pleasure and all the presence, just me, unconditionally, unlimited, and see that,
Ah!
right? Yeah. And like you said, and then you take it into like channeling into your projects and your visions and your dreams, because so much all of the sudden is coming through you. Like I wasn't joking before when before we started to hit record, of like lately my expression is like, let me just write another post to my social media or another version of this sales pitch, because I've been in such creative flow with the things that I have been launching, that it just brings me so much joy and pleasure. And I'm like, oh my God, when I put it out, like I sent you the picture of the hair serums and how it's going to look like when I take them to the market, and just seeing it, I'm like, I'm standing there and crying. I'm like, this is just, it just came through me. Like this creation was just channeled through me. It's just a whole different. And like, I don't miss anything. Like, don't get me wrong. I could, but it needs to be like, that's another thing. You get to a stage where it needs to be so worth it. So worth it, because you feel so good
In
within you.
yourself, yeah.
That is like, listen, if I'm gonna give you some of this gracious,
Juicy.
juicy goddess time, like it needs to be worth it. You can't be fast
What's
food.
got a return on investment? Yeah, you can't be fast food. I love that. And you know, it's just, you saying that then has just inspired me to know, like I do every morning, every night, every moment I get, I'm really with myself,
I know.
100%. Yeah, yeah, you know. But
Pleasure
like, you know,
queen.
yeah, but the thing is, so when people are in your energy, when you're really embodied in the energy, they get to benefit from that. And what I
Mm.
mean when I say that is like, I'll be in a business meeting and somebody will be opposite with me, and like I'm deeply orgasmic and they get to feel that, they get to benefit from that. When I work with my clients and they're in my field, they're just like, oh, they're just deeply, deeply blissful because they get to attune to my system. Like when you've cultivated that from within, a little bit like Maya said, like when you've created that level of safety and love and embodiment from within, why would you just give that to just anyone? And you don't, that doesn't mean that you don't serve, you know, people in the community that might need help, or charities and organisations and all of them different things, but you hold yourself with such high regard that you're not letting people come in and just infiltrate. And it's a little bit like what I said, like sometimes I'll get these urges and things like that, and then it's having to go like, hold my little girl and go, bitch, no, I got you.
Calm
I
down.
got you. Yeah, calm down, baby. Yeah, wait for the right moment. And yeah, people get to really benefit from integrated Kundalini in such a beautiful way. And yeah, Is there anything in terms of, I'd say
Yeah,
as
I
well,
think
like friendship? Sorry, God, darling.
no, I was just gonna say that just what came through for me for a second is to remember that our pleasure is not something to outsource.
Yeah.
So like when you really start to learn to cultivate pleasure within yourself, rather than outsourcing it of like, this is the only time I get to feel connected and desired and wanted and seen and all of these beautiful things that you would usually have in a relationship, that means that you're outsourcing your pleasure to another person. So when you
Yeah.
cultivate, like intentionally cultivating the pleasure practices within yourself, then also when these things happen, which happens once a month at least, when we're in a cycle, and it's a signal for healthy hormones too. Like, you meant to feel really unhinged when you ovulate, like, chain me down, like that means that
Yeah.
you're healthy. That's good. But that's the whole point, that if you have cultivated pleasure practices within, then you're not going to outsource of like, I need to channel this somewhere, because it's just going to be a beautiful time to
Yeah. Yeah. And
to deeper embody. Yes.
I think that cultivating that in then results in something much deeper. If the other person has a level of sensitivity, like, you are literally, you're meeting God through another person. Like, that's like when I like met that guy,
Yeah.
he in my ear, he whispered to me that, like, he really wants me to succeed, and that in 2 years' time he wants to see my business flourish. I had a full body orgasm, and I was just like, because his voice alone created a, like, an orgasmic state with it, because I'm so sensitive. Like, I'll be outside and I'll catch the wind will like tickle me. I'm like, pleasurable. The wind
And I
makes me
think
feel pleasure.
that's actually reminding me of another important thing too, is that as you're becoming more in connection with your own body, your own energy and expression and life force energy and pleasure, you will also start noticing that some partners who were like super interesting time ago, like the kind of partners who were like, okay, let me be clear. So I used to have this thing with an ex of mine who I was like, oh my gosh, we used to have this crazy connection. It was so amazing. It was so steamy. I played on my mind for years, for years, for years. And as I reconnected with him eventually. And as I did that, I was like, it's just not it. It's not it. Because it changes completely, like the level of connection. And you start noticing that it's really, what's the word I'm looking for? It becomes non-negotiable to actually have a partner who is also sensitive in their bodies, because there are a lot of men who aren't. And it's very hard to teach that. Like, you can learn it, but they need to want to embody deeper. There are some men who are naturally super present in their body, and then you can have that very tantric orgasmic connections. But there are also, the reason why we speak about men, because we are two heterosexual women, just like, for the record, for what's the word I'm looking for
Any man.
inclusivity,
Yeah.
and being politically correct. So just that's the background. But some men don't have that, and the thing is that then it's just not going to work. It's not.
Yeah. And I think maybe to conclude with this, when it comes to sexual relations, we're not here to give advice, we're not here to tell people what to do. But I'd just say that if that is something that you want to pursue, like casual encounters, or yeah, casual encounters, just go into it with like conscious awareness. Know what it is that you're doing when you go into it, so it's not just like, oh, like, I've got really drunk and this happened. Like, be aware of how it can influence you, be aware of how it can influence your energy, your being, how you feel, how it can activate attachment wounds as well, and all of them different things, because everything with an active Kundalini is amplified, which means that your wounds that may come through connection, that is amplified as well. And that amplification can sometimes feel hard to manage unless you're a little bit further down the line and you're getting used to these big feelings, these big sensations, these sometimes like my therapists are like, it feels fucking big. It's like, oh. So yeah. Have you got any final words for conclusion?
No, I think you covered it. It was the perfect conclusion. I guess the only thing is we're going to start bringing some guests, we said, right? Was it from next?
Yes.
So stay tuned because we're going to invite some beautiful guests so you guys can get a perspective from other people too, in terms of what is Kundalini, what is life force energy embodiment. And I think we're going to share a little bit more soon because when we have discussed who the guests are, we have a few ideas, but we don't want to say them before we confirm it. And once again, you can just leave a comment if you have any specific questions. We do check the comments. And oh yeah, one more thing. If you actually want to do some closer work with Leanne or myself, I think you were saying, Leanne, that you have a few containers that are coming out right now. Do you want to speak about that briefly?
Yeah, so I have something called Thrive, which is an analogy for different things. So my work focuses on embodiment work, so embodiment practices, pleasure practices, but also mindset coaching. So there's different things that I do helping people to understand their values, their boundaries, their vision, all of these different things. So it's a 6-month container that is available and it's likely to start towards the back end of the year. So that's something I have available. And also, I'm in the northeast of England at the moment, so I am holding embodiment workshops and activation classes where we focus a lot on self-activation. So I am not a huge believer of pushing loads of energy through a person's body. I'm a real believer of helping people to connect, to feel sensation, to notice things about themselves, to understand shifts when they're doing breath work. I'm a big believer in building self-autonomy for managing your nervous system as a whole. So they're the different types of things that I do. Maia, tell them all about your new thing.
Loved all of that. They are so juicy. What did I do? So yeah, I think I mentioned briefly, I have my Shakti Goddess hair serum that is launching. It's actually on the website already, so pre-orders are available. And I also will be going to a few local markets in London. So have a look on my Instagram so you can find me and come and meet me in person. The special thing about this serum is that it's actually a ritual, it's a reverence to our crown, which is the extension of our life force energy. Because in a lot of traditions, hair wasn't only seen as hair, it was an extension of our power. So my hair has changed so much since I've been on this Kundalini journey, and it just naturally started to grow into this mane. Well, it's tied up now, but I think you have the idea. And also because as you work with life force energy, you naturally start to reject food or substances that are not honoring your vessel, which is another byproduct I had going sober and not being able to drink alcohol, or not liking it, to be fair. I can't drink it, but I don't like it. And also stop using chemical products for my skincare, my hair care, and it showed. So this serum is a representation of that ritual. So it's a nourishing product at the end of the hair. So every day you can just rehydrate your hair. And it comes with a Shakti Goddess natural hair protocol where I actually break down how you can completely transition from chemical hair care, like damage repair type of hair care, which is like 90% of what's on the market, to complete natural hair care of like nourishment and ritual. And to actually stabilize your nervous system through these rituals of caring for yourself. And that is something that connects into my new membership, which is Goddess Glow. And it's a monthly nervous system based, pleasure based, and life force energy based membership and community more than anything, where we have live classes of Goddess or Women's Circle, because we're not meant to rewire and regulate alone. So this is a space where we learn to slow down, to prioritize pleasure and nervous system safety as our baseline, because us women were never meant to function on dopamine and achievement, and it's just completely put us out of balance. And when you do that, when you start embodying your life force energy, which is why we also do Kundalini activations, recharge and get that vital life force flowing through us, the glow, the reason why we call it glow is because it becomes an inner blossoming. Beauty and wellness is not just supplements and skincare. It's your nervous system. It's your life force energy. So that's what we do. Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. I had a business meeting yesterday and the woman said to me, I have no idea how old you are. And I told her my age. She was just like, you know, like, I'm 34 years old and like.
There you go. Like the 10 years younger. Like I wish I have a picture, like I have it on my Instagram and also on my pages. When I show people how I looked 4 years ago, they're like, that's not you. I'm 38. I'm 38.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
it's
you're
crazy.
not.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were 38. I didn't know this.
Yeah, this
Oh
year
my
I
God,
turned.
girl. Love it.
And I look younger than I did when I was 30. Like I'm gonna see if we can put a picture in here of like before, if anyone is seeing this, but that's Kundalini. Like you can't deny it.
Yeah. Life force is, it's radiance, it's current, it's life moving through you. Of course you're gonna look younger if you've got more life.
Yeah. Exactly. It sounds like a no-brainer, does it?
Yeah.
What do we need?
Yeah.
More life. Yeah.
So thank you all for watching. We've gone on long enough. Let's get going. But thank you all. If you've got any comments, put them in the comment section. And thank you all for dialing in. And
I